Hey everybody, this is herculespetix, founder, curator, docent, and gift shop employee of the herculespetix Academy of Comic Book Studies. Today we're going to continue our look at rip-off comics. We're up to number 7 here, and this is came out in 1980. So the times they are a-changing, even though most of these characters are still living like they did in the 60s, smoking lots of dope and running from the federales. But once again, we start off with I love these fun covers with all the little series highlighted. This is the first time, though, it's Dave Sheridan gets the main spot for his Dealer McDope story. And Dave Sheridan always does nice work. We start off with a page of R. Diggs strips. And these are all separate little stories, pretty much political humor for the most part. They're okay, just like in any anthology. They're hit and miss. Some are more clever than others. Some maybe I just don't get because they're very topical and timely. Start off with The Doings of Dealer McDope, The Triangle Tryst by Dave Sheridan. And look at this panel, guys. Dave Sheridan, just a great illustrator all around. I think I've mentioned before, I'm not a fan of these stories. It's just like a dumbed down Freak Brothers where all he does is like he's trying to score drugs all the time and deal drugs. But it doesn't have the sense of adventure and sense of humor. I mean, I guess they're trying to be funny, but I don't really find them that funny. But I do like to look at Dave Sheridan artwork. So Dealer McDope, his source has dried up. He can't find any good, decently priced drugs. And this guy calls him up, an old friend, Florida Frank. He says, I've got a deal. Tons of Colombian. We have to go down to the Bahamas. So it's going to be like a little kind of nautical adventure. This is interesting, too. It's 1980. So a lot of Dealer McDope's friends, it looks like they live in Manhattan in an office. You know what I mean? There's no more crash pads or, hippie lifestyles anymore. Just the drugs have remained, mostly cocaine. But no one's really a hippie. They're pretty much capitalists, even though it's illegal. So they get a boat and they get caught in the storm and they find this ship, this Colombian ship, which I guess all the drugs are on. And I guess some cartel guys have gotten to it first. And they shoot it, Dealer McDope and Frank. So they land on this little island. And their friend Romero shows up out of nowhere. And of course, he's a drug dealer too. And the cartel guys start firing at these guys in their little cottage here. It's funny that throughout all these adventures, they're being chased by gangsters and bad guys, and various things happen. But they always just stop in the middle to have some drugs. They're like, okay, those guys are shooting at us. Hey, let's do some blow. So it turns out, I'm sorry, it's not the cartel firing at them, it's the DEA. So it turns out that this drug shipment in the ship is not Colombian. I mean, it could have been grown there, but it's actually a CIA ship. Because, now it's common knowledge. Well, actually, it's not because people are dumb and they don't read. But the CIA was running lots of drugs from Vietnam all the way through the 80s. That's how they supported the Contras. A lot of their shenanigans, So but I guess the DEA is just sick of turning the other way. And they're like, we're going to bust the CIA. He says, you think you can get away with anything? And this guy's just maniacally laughing as he's firing his machine gun. So Dealer McDope and his buddies escape through this little tunnel. And they find the DEA ship, which is almost deserted, just as one little dude there who's kind of asleep at the switch. They tie him up and take the boat. They're pleased to find out that the DEA ship has some heavy armament. So they attack the CIA ship with missiles, it looks like. Look at these great sound effects here. I love that kaboom. It's almost 3D. It's really nice. So it seems like they're doing good, fighting this ship. And then all of a sudden lightning comes out of nowhere. I don't know. I guess, I don't know why the CIA ship didn't, it could have just been a missile hit them. But no. So the DEA ship is blown up, but there's a giant bale of weed. And they're floating on it. Once again, they're in this shitty situation. And they're like, hey, you guys want some mushrooms? So they do mushrooms. And we kind of get to see the old Dave Sheridan being all trippy. Look at this pointillism here. We can see like an old pirate galleon kind of coming through the psychedelic fog. It turns out it's this Jamaican ship called the Haile Selassie. And this Jamaican guy says, hey, man, you need a lift? And he takes him to Florida. And these guys are still just tripping balls. So I love this last panel. Which is it looks like, I don't know, these giant octopus or, I don't know, fondling the ship. Pretty nice trippy art. Next, we have a bunch of cartoon cavalcades by Joel Beck. These are just one-page gag strips. Actually, they're 5 gags. Each panel is almost like a separate little comic, like a cartoon. And not a big fan of Joel Beck's humor. None of these are very funny. This one's called The Great American Drug Scene, commentary about the drugs that the DEA doesn't talk about, legal drugs that rich people use. This one's called The Bill Bland Show, and he's interviewing Uncle Sam. And Uncle Sam has all these different minorities on, ethnic groups, just to prove that he's not, that America isn't like everyone thinks we are. Well, because we are. We always have been. Art in America? This is kind of taking the piss out of the art world. This one I kind of like. A guy has a giant toilet with the planet Earth in it. And the critic is like, but what are you trying to say? This little jab at Walter Keane. Now we have Portrait of the Me Generation. And this is kind of funny because 1980, it's still the 70s. I know that sounds weird, but, 1980 didn't feel like the 80s, how you look at it now. Reagan wasn't in office yet. Jimmy Carter was still president. Everyone was still pretty mellow. The moral majority, all that crap, just say no to drugs. That, was years in the future. But he kind of predicts that because the baby boomers were the majority, and when, they use that to, end the Vietnam War and protest things, but he kind of predicts that they're just going to selfishly champion all the things that they need. So when they're old people in the year 2000, they're going to be protesting for, better Social Security. Don't trust anyone under 50. They're like the Gray Panthers, Next we have Flaky Dom's Finest Moments. I don't kind of get this strip because it starts with this weird thing. Tim Leary insinuating cartoonist Robert Crumb is crazy in a note written to a very respectable magazine. And then the rest has nothing to do with it. We see this kind of hobo-looking dude at the UC Berkeley campus, and he just sees all these weird booths. The Moonies, Jews for Jesus. And this shows how, he's kind of an old man now, or an older man. He's not that hip to the jive. Psychedelic, sexistential, anarchist meth heads for new wave punk Marxist society. That is just such an old man joke. Freeway Funnies. This is making fun of car culture. Yeah, there's not many good jokes in these guys. Just by my sense of humor. These aren't very good. Nightmares of Eminent People. I would like to see a better, funnier cartoonist use this concept. William F. Buckley has a nightmare that he doesn't know what a word means. Can't even spell it. This caveman who was probably like a genius caveman, like invented like the club maybe. He has a nightmare about where technology will take us in the future. Oh, these are much better as social commentary. The Griffith Observatory by Bill Griffith. This is really interesting. It says, "Are you bougie?" I never heard the word bougie until 10 years ago. I knew bourgeois, the actual, real word. Never heard anyone say bougie, and then it became a very popular catchphrase. And he's using it in 1980. And he's basically talking about bougie people, just like we call them. And I guess, subgeni would call them pinks. Just people, all they care about, they just have no intellectual inner life. And they're terrified of, communist takeover, punk rock, things that are new and strange. And really, they just want to buy stuff. And they want to consume. This next one is called the mansard roof syndrome. I never heard this term, but apparently that's the kind of gabled roof that McDonald's have. And I guess this was a thing, how that was taking over architecture for businesses in the late 70s, early 80s. I just like how Griffith, it seems like back then, all he did was observe and report on it. So I think these are really valuable. I would love a collection of these. Just for even when they're not that funny, it's just kind of interesting. And I was 13 at the time, but I didn't know a lot of shit that was going on. I was 13, or actually mostly 12. This is Welcome to the House of Snap Judgments. This is a good one. Just talking about how some people like to do that, look at people and just be like, no, he looks like a loser. This is what goes on in the brain of a judgmental type. Weirdo sensor device, latest data on behavioral analysis, files on human foibles and weaknesses, envy, jealousy, fear, and anger, storage bin, instant insult recall banks. And a sense of decency is the size of a pea. Next, we have New York again. So Griffith ragging on New Yorkers yet again. I think he did like 2 or 3 issues ago. And he's just, typical stuff about New York. Useless objects, which I guess never goes out of style. I think I remember some of these. He's just talking about all the weird little tchotchkes you could buy. There's all these little stores that just sell shit that nobody needs. Like the tea bag squeezer. I guess that wouldn't be bad if I drank a lot of tea. A peanut pitcher, so you could just pour out a nice little portion of peanuts. Daisy-shaped eggs. I've never seen one of those. I remember the bent pencils. Those were stupid as hell. You couldn't even use them. Stupidity Patrol. So now he has these kind of characters, and I believe Zippy the Pinhead kind of continued this with those 2 characters. I can't remember their names. It's a man and a woman. They're kind of ornery, and they do this. And every now and then, Zippy, they'll just be riding around saying, "You're dumb. This fat is stupid." And that's what these people do. I love this idea. They go to a movie, and they ask people what they thought of it. And this guy says, "Oh, it was warm-hearted and had great tenderness and emotion." Wrong. It was pretentious, confused, cliche-ridden, and flawed. And everyone says, "Oh, we're sorry." Everyone puts up with their shit. I kind of like this idea. I could read a lot of pages of this. This one's Time Warped, talking about how people are kind of locked into the fashion of, when they were younger, probably when they were happiest. That's why you see old ladies walking down the street wearing shit like from the 40s. Well, that's my generation, sorry. But it looks like, fashion that's 3 decades out of date. And I liked his comparison between 70s and 80s clothing. And how young kids go to Haight-Ashbury and they dress up as like hippies. They're trying to, summon up that energy. And of course, in 2010, we see this old bag lady And they're like, hey, look at her. She's from the 80s. And it's a little old punk rock lady who had never changed her style. 5 great moments in the life of Jimmy Durante. I have no idea if he just made up all of these, but they're pretty fucking funny. He has a duet with Albert Einstein. And Albert Einstein's just yelling at him. It's like, no, it's A major. And Durante's just like, gee, professor, I just can't follow you with them higher mathematics. Apparently, Louis B. Mayer would rub his nose, just go into his dressing room, and rub Jimmy Durante's huge schnoz for good luck, which, of course, he thought was degrading. I wonder if there's any truth to this. That would almost make it funnier. Jimmy Durante wrestling Lupe Velez, the old-timey actress, into the orchestra pit. Oh, God, this is funny stuff. I like it. This one's called Where's the Party? Just talking about how different people party. You know, the different kinds of weird parties, but it's all changing. Talking about how at every party there's one guy who brings his guitar and sings some shitty folk song. This is a really good Fat Freddy's Cat story now by Gilbert Shelton. This is reprinted in the Fat Freddy's Cat comic book, which once I get the last 2 issues, we'll look at that. It's a really fun one. So we start off with this old tale. It's, I guess, 100 years ago or something, maybe less. A kid named Dick Whittingston, a clever young lad. He brought a cat to this foreign Asian land, Pootweet. And I guess there was a plague of mice. So he kind of rented out his cat to the king, which they call the Grand Yoo-Hoo. And because of that, he amasses a great fortune. The king is very grateful, goes back to England and becomes the Lord Mayor of London. And Fat Freddy's cat is reading this story to his nephews and says, hey, did I ever tell you? I had a very similar experience. So now we see Fat Freddy, and he reads the story, and he wants to get back at like the oil nations, you know, like the OPEC nations. So he says, oh, I'm going to pull a scam on them, just like that Dick Whittington. So he raises all these mice for like weeks, like 5,000 mice. And then he ships them in the cargo hold while he takes a flight to Pootweet. And when he gets there, all the mice are dead. I guess it was too cold in the cargo hold. And so I guess it's a big crime to kill animals in this country. So it looks like he's in trouble. Some of the language in here is so funny. So they're like, aye, it's the Abba Dabba Yucca Ducka Highfalutin Hoochie Doochie and his merry men. That's what I guess they call the Ayatollah here. The Supreme Hoochie Doochie. Everyone's wearing these crazy shoes. I don't know what's up with this woman. Looks like her face is covered in saran wrap or something. Or crepe paper. So he says the punishment for killing those mice is to be hit by a Pootweetian fly swatter. And Freddy's relieved, but apparently it's 45 pounds and it's made of iron, this fly swatter. So it looks like they rip off all his clothes. I gotta say, it doesn't say who inks this one. I think it's just Shelton. Really nice Shelton art. It's just, I think he had some good speed that month. I think he's purposely trying to make the story more detailed. Like it's because it's almost a tale. And Fat Freddy talking to his nephews is very cartoony and more simple. So, the Hucky Ducky, I know I got that wrong, hold on. The Hoochie Doochie, he says, we've never had a mice problem here, not since my great-great-great-great-great-grandfather, the Grand Yoo-Hoo, bought a cat from Dick Whittington. So this is the descendant of that king. And I guess there's never been a mouse in that country since. That cat really did a good job. But then Fat Freddy's cat, he's been locked up in his little carrying case. He's got to go to the bathroom really bad, and he runs out the door. And this is like the weird part of the story. The Hucky Ducky's like, the sacred sands of Pootweet. And I guess they have this legend there that if a cat pees on the sacred sands, then doom will follow. It'll like rain down cat poop on, and everyone will die. He shows them this book, for their Quran, I guess. And that's where the prophecy is. I love this. He says, that's why we've spent all of our oil money, most of it, on cat commodes and these cute little toilets for cats to pee in. So I guess all of their oil money for like 100 years has gone to training cats how to use these toilets. So Fat Freddy has a little kitty litter in that carrying case. And he says, see, my cat would rather pee in this stuff or poop in it. It's better than sand. And everyone's just all like, oh my God, I'll give you $1 million for it. All these Pootweetians. Once again, really nice panel. All these faces of these guys. So Fat Freddy leaves with like millions of dollars. He's still wearing the sacrificial tutu he had to put on when they were going to kill him. And on the plane, he's all like, I'm going to get myself elected to some important post, just like Dick Whittington. And he becomes the mayor of Cleveland. And it doesn't look like it's that fun. People are throwing bottles at him. The citizenry of Cleveland, I imagine, aren't too thrilled with their mayors because their city sucked back then. We have some more cartoon cavalcades, unfortunately. This one I kind of like, though. He's the Earth gets a checkup. And he says, yeah, you got maybe 20 to 100 years. You're going to die soon. And he says, wait, don't freak out. We got a miracle cure, though. It's a form of cobalt treatment. Just drop 10 of these a day for 3 weeks. What's in the bottle, Doc? 210 neutron bombs. So that's I just like the sentiment, I guess. It's like, because, if humans left the planet Earth, it would just be fine. In like 10 years, it would probably be healthy as hell. This is Looking for Dr. Feelgood by Fulbert Sturgeon, starring the owner of Dorman's doggy. Dorman. Man, I gotta say, I'm really coming around to Fulbert Sturgeon. His 80s stuff, for rip-off, like the Amazon story, it was listed as Frank Stack. That's his real name. I really did not like that stuff. It really rubbed me the wrong way as when I was in college. But this 70s, early 80s stuff, I just think it's beautifully drawn. He's really good. So we see Dorman, he's very depressed. He wants to have an appointment with Dr. Feelgood, his therapist. Apparently Dr. Feelgood has moved, though. So he can't find him. And he tracks him down. I guess Dr. Feelgood was doing so well with his practice, he kind of went to a ritzier part of town for his office. So he tells Dr. Feelgood his problem. And I don't know if we've looked at Dr. Feelgood before, but he's just this guy who just likes to drink beer, and he just lets people talk. And he just gives them common sense wisdom. And they're all just like, oh my God, thank you, you saved my life. When really they're just talking it through, And he just kind of nods his head and says, yeah, maybe you shouldn't do that anymore. And they're like, thank you, doctor. So he tells Dr. Feelgood about this crazy dream he had. And this becomes this elaborate story where, it's kind of got dream logic, It's very odd. And I guess he's going out to the jungle to film a Tarzan movie. And I guess he's cast as Tarzan. This woman he's with, I guess she's going to be Jane. This is interesting. See this tiny print here, which you probably can barely read? You probably can't read it. He has this long note to Disney, basically. Or not Disney, I'm sorry. The estate of Edgar Rice Burroughs saying, please don't sue us. We're not showing Tarzan. We're just using the idea, the myth of Tarzan. And he even says this is because of the recent Air Pirates suit brought by Disney. So I guess that was in the air, you know. These underground cartoonists were scared. So there's this guy there who's like the director, but he is also like from Texan Oil, who have, you know, diversified interests. So they're also there to like get this ivory, poach this ivory. You know, it's a dream. It's very odd. Look at the anatomy here. How good Fulbert Sturgeon is. This is a beautiful panel to me. I love that. But then he's got that goofy face there. Seems like his loincloth is bothering him the whole time he's scratching his balls. So it turns out that Jane is like his protector. She's the one that, you know, is savage and, you know, she's the jungle queen. He just doesn't have it in him. He's too timid, I guess. So just like in all those movies, they want to go to get that ivory. The guys who carry their stuff, what do they call porters? They all run off because they're like, oh, you know, there's bad juju in that part of the country. We're not gonna go. The whole time the woman's mocking him. She's like, sublord of the jungle you turned out to be. He's pretty lame. And then the head of the expedition, a poison dart comes out of nowhere, kills him. And then he gets hit by a poison dart. And Jane valiantly fights off these African tribesmen. And then he has that weird thing you have in a dream where he's dead, or at least passed out. And but the dream continues. This is some amazing stuff. I really like this art. It's so rough in some parts. Like sometimes the face is just not that great. But something about the whole thing, I can't put my finger on it. So now it's almost like, you know how this happens in a dream? So now he is Jane, you know, or at least in the dream he thinks he is. And she's trying to escape these guys. And then finally she gets hit by a dart. They drag her away. And it turns out it wasn't poison. It was just a sleeping potion. I seriously think that he was looking at like old Hal Foster strips. Some of these panels look vaguely familiar to me. And so it turns out that you know, this Tarzan character, or Fulbert, I guess it's Fulbert Sturgeon. He was hit by a sleeping potion dart too. So he wakes up in the village. That looks like another poached panel. I think that's Bern Hogarth or something. So now all of a sudden he is Tarzan. He steps up to the role. This, I'm almost positive, is a classic Hal Foster panel. I've seen that before. So now he rescues Jane. Another panel that doesn't look like normal Fulbert Sturgeon. And then all of a sudden he becomes flabby and weak. And his knee starts hurting. Just becomes like a normal dumpy dude. And he tries to take Jane away. Oh, his glasses have come back too. He can't even carry her on the vine. He's too weak, and she falls. And the woman just runs off and leaves him to be killed by the African guys. So now he says, what does that mean, Dr. Feelgood? And of course, Dr. Feelgood just says, what do you think it means? And he just goes off on this total diatribe about race and the all those kind of jungle tales have this kind of substrata of racism. And he's kind of saying, his conclusion is that the paranoia about racism is overblown. You know what I mean? He's a white guy. So he's kind of saying how some people say, like, color doesn't matter. Racism's over. He's kind of like saying, yeah, these people, blah, blah, blah. So, I guess Dr. Feelgood just looks like he's calmly listening to this. But then he says, you can keep talking if you want. I'm going to get play a few games of pool downstairs at the bar. I'll be back in a couple hours to help you out of your bag. And apparently Dr. Feelgood really put him in a big, hefty garbage bag. And he says, not very funny, Dr. Feelgood. Kind of so much packed into these, 8 pages? There's a lot of stuff in here. And some really nice drawing. Really like this stuff. And then we have another Griffith Observatory, people watching. And it's kind of fun just seeing Bill Griffith draw all these random people. I'm sure he just saw these people, on the bus or at the gas station. And then we have a 1-page gag of Fat Freddy's cat, which I'm sure is reprinted in his comic. Pretty good gag. And then for the first time, the color back cover is not by Gilbert Shelton. It's not bad, though. It's by R. Diggs. But it's the same concept. This is the rip-off press space station. Of course, it has hydroponic marijuana fields. Due to this computer, all the artists and writers just spend their days playing pool and getting drunk. They don't really have to create much. And just everything's thought out, just like the Gilbert Shelton stuff. So maybe Gilbert Shelton wrote this. But pretty fun-looking little page, or cover, I should say. So there you go, guys. Rip-Off Comics number 7. And hope you enjoyed looking at it. These are fun comics. I was thinking today how, just like any anthology, some of these kind of suck, actually, to be honest. Some of the comics in here, some great stuff, too, just like any anthology. But I think the reason why I like Rip-Off Comics is it's almost like a Saturday Night Live show. Like, there's not many comics where it's just trying to be funny. I'm trying to think. I guess there were in the 40s and 50s for little kids. There'd be, all these funny animal strips, which I guess the main purpose was to make you laugh. But I kind of wish there was just more comics like this, which is a bunch of stories, funny stories. Probably my most loved one is Hyena. That was a great one. I'm pretty sure they all, that was what they were going for. Getting all these weird cartoonists to be funny. So I just miss it. I like the idea, even though sometimes it doesn't hit the mark. It's a great idea. And they're just fun to read. Just like watching a sketch comedy show, One sketch is bad, you wait around, and hopefully you'll like the next one. So that's it for today, guys. Thanks for watching. And I hope to see you next time here at the Herculespetix Academy of Comic Book Studies.